Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Schmoofcast. You're here with Brett.
I'm Kristen.
And together we are the Schmoofs. We're theme park aficionados. We love it all. We're here to share that love of our theme parks with you.
Yay!
If you notice, the audio is better right now.
Hey, we fixed it.
Sorry about the last 3 episodes. I will take entire blame for that one.
And well, you should.
Yeah. we have a nice Yeti Blue microphone. I had it plugged in, I had everything working fine, but I didn't have it selected to record from, which caused the laptop microphone to kick over, which is why the last 3 episodes have been lackluster. But we felt the content was still really good discussion, so we wanted to push that to you. So that's why it's out there, that's why it was bad quality, but excuses aside, we're back for another episode.
Welcome back.
And today's episode we're going to be discussing how COVID regulations have changed the theme parks.
This is actually a really good topic for right now because we're going into spring break season.
We're going to spring break season, but we're going into a year of the parks being closed. It's actually been, I think today, a year ago today, Disneyland was closed.
I think tomorrow. Wasn't it the 16th?
Well, for the resorts at Walt Disney World.
No, the resorts were like the 20th.
Well, were they? I had to check my dates. Yeah, the 16th. For World, for Disneyland, it was the 14th.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I was seeing all.
We're coming up. So it's a year. It's a year from this week, regardless of day. And we've obviously seen a lot of changes, or we haven't seen anything in the case that Disneyland is yet to open their gates.
Well, I mean, they open their gates tomorrow for the Touch of Disney event.
Disneyland doesn't.
Well, the California Adventure does. I mean, okay, I get that. That's fine. So,
it's weird to know that there's a park out there, a Disney park that has legitimately not opened its gates in a year.
It's wild to me that they have a brand new dark ride sitting in Fantasyland at Disneyland that nobody's been on yet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same situation over at Universal Studios Hollywood. They have the Secret Life of Pets, and that's been sitting there. That was supposed to open like March 20th last year, and they never had a chance to open it.
Crazy.
And then we have Ratatouille just sitting here waiting for October 1st for some unknown reason.
The anniversary.
Yeah.
Question mark. But regardless, when you take all of that into consideration and you look at essentially the theme parkdom that has transpired from that, not just Disney parks, but looking at Universal or SeaWorld, Busch Gardens.
We've done some other things, too, that haven't been the theme parks.
But it's a different experience. It is a crazy different experience now than it would have been a year ago.
Yeah, it's enormously different. Just before you even step foot into the theme park, the entire process is different. Especially for Disney and the SeaWorld and Busch Gardens parks. Right now, you need to make a reservation ahead of time. Universal's not doing that. Universal's still doing first come, first served.
But they've made it very clear, even though they don't have a reservation system, that they do plan to hit capacity.
We got an email last week.
Yeah, we got it as annual pass holders. We got an email directly from Universal Orlando that was very blatant, and I think it's a great way to set an expectation that they do expect their parks to hit capacity because they have limited capacity, and that as an annual pass holder, if you're looking to visit the parks, you need to be aware that it is going to be you have to get there early. You have to get there around opening if you plan to visit for the day, because if not, the probability is you're not going to get in.
Yeah, I mean, even that happened today. We're recording this, it's the 15th today, and Universal hit capacity. They opened at 8 a.m., both the parks, and they hit capacity at 11:43 a.m., and they did not reopen until 6 p.m.
Yep. 6 p.m. was when we got the notification that they had again opened for the day. But at that point, they were only going to be open for
another 2 hours.
Yeah, barely 2 hours.
Like it was kind of funny. It's a Monday.
It is a Monday. But again, this leads back to what I said is it's spring break season. And if you've ever been in Orlando, any point during what is considered spring break, because spring break season here usually goes from the beginning of March through the end of April, because we see the spring break as it kind of goes across the country. So we'll see like Northeastern or spring break, and then we'll see kind of the Midwest go on spring break, then you have the Southwest, and then you have the West Coast. So you kind of see the demographics change of people as they come here, but it is literally almost 2 months of an experience for spring break. And it is not a pleasant time to be in a theme park if you are a local. So if you are used to parks that are kind of easier to go with, or for like us, we go to a park just to, maybe ride one ride, grab some food, and then peace out for the day. That is not the way that it works during spring break season. So it's weird right now to, compared to other COVID crowds, we are definitely spiking right now, which is why it's a Monday and you couldn't get a park pass or anything, and Universal hit capacity and all of these things. So it's just a weird thing.
It is, but I mean, so Universal hitting capacity, but then there's no park passes for Disney. But that adds to the interesting point of the park pass, I should say. Because even though it's busy, if you wanted to go to Magic Kingdom and you got a park pass before they were gone, you're guaranteed entrance to Magic Kingdom. Whether you get there at 9 a.m. or whether you get there at 2 p.m. Which I think that's great. And I love the way that the park pass works for that. Especially for like this past year with Christmas Day and New Year's and stuff. Even though they weren't doing fireworks, still being able to guarantee entrance to the park on Christmas Day.
It's unheard of.
Years ago, you'd have to be there in line way at the park entry hours ahead of time to be guaranteed entrance into the kingdom before they would do the phased closures.
So I think that's the funny thing of looking at a COVID change. It's definitely the most paramount is the fact that you are guaranteed for everything but Universal to get into a park. The other thing is that I think one thing that I've noticed, once you get into the park, particularly for Disney parks, we know based on the investor calls and statements that Disney has made that they're probably running at about 30 to 35% capacity.
But that's overall fire code capacity.
Yeah. So when you go into a Disney park, like say you're walking into Magic Kingdom right now and they are out of park passes for the day, which means they've given out that 35% of fire code capacity, that is a busy day. Like it is not what everyone's thinking of, oh, everything's a walk-on, we'll be able to do everything we want. No, these are like, this is a busy day. Like that's 60-minute waits for multiple things. And those lines are outrageous because that 60-minute wait with social distancing is Peter Pan going through Columbia Harbor House.
Yeah, and specifically Magic Kingdom doesn't have the space to store people in queues. Epcot has the space. They can put people wherever they want to. Epcot's huge.
But even then, like, we've seen the Frozen Ever After queue rope its way through Norway, down that little side cove they have where the cavalcades come out, roped through the entire China pavilion.
Yeah, it's insane.
Past the bridge into the outpost. That is... I can't even come up with a word. But that's just astronomically crazy. And that's... I mean, it's fine. If you were to think of that in comparison to not having social distancing, you would still be outside. But you'd be in the Norway Pavilion at that point. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't be extended all of this way. But that's a normal day. Like, it's not dead. It's not empty. It's none of those things. You are still seeing a full park. You're just guaranteed that it's not going to be elbow to elbow, gut to gut in certain sections.
And Disney will never tell you what amount of people are in that park for capacity. That's just something that they're not comfortable giving out. They don't want to... That's their business. They don't want to spoil their business. You don't need to know. You don't need to know. You just need to know 35% of their overall capacity. So say, for example, like I don't even know how many Epcot could fit. I want to say over 100,000.
I have no idea.
They're huge.
It's a huge park. It is a giant park. It definitely is the largest capacity. It is the only park that I've ever seen has never had a capacity issue of any kind.
Even on New Year's Eve.
But it has been busy on New Year's Eve. But I don't think it's not for us to try and guess those numbers.
I'm just saying, like, even if it was 100,000 capacity, 35,000 people in that park, like you said, is still a busy day.
That's a lot of people.
And it's a far cry from last July when they first reopened, when there were some days in Epcot where there were under 5,000 people in the park all day long. Like, it was a ghost town.
That is very weird. And I think it's due to a lot of people getting to the point of being stir crazy.
Yeah.
And they're seeing that, oh, well, Florida's open. Let's go to Florida. Not necessarily saying that's a good idea. I still fully hold on to the fact that I do not think that if you are... I don't necessarily know if it's a safe thing to travel here.
If you're uncomfortable with any of it, we would recommend not traveling. If you're not comfortable, don't travel.
If this is your once in a lifetime, still don't do it. Like, this is not the time yet. And I know a lot of people are not taking that advice, and they're saying, oh, well, Florida's open. And it feels very weird to say that Florida is open comparatively. We've had friends come from California that have come in that were shocked by things like the fact we went to a Disney park and we did indoor dining.
Yeah, that was a big culture shock.
We ate inside a restaurant, which they have not been able to do for going on a year.
Yeah.
And that still is the case for them. They're still trying to get through those. So
we are open, but we are far from recovered. Like, as much as anybody's going to tell you, like, Florida's open, there's no restrictions, there's no this and that.
But there's restrictions in the places you want to go.
Exactly.
So, for example, if you're looking at going to a theme park, you're going to have restrictions, whether that's a capacity restriction, whether it's a distancing, mask policies. And guess what? All of those places have more than a right to do that. They're all private businesses.
And then the counties that they're in also have mandates. So, yeah. So, Orange County, with Universal to Disney and downtown Orlando and all that, they have a public mask mandate. And then Osceola has a public mask mandate as well. Both are still active. So there's nothing for the statewide, but for the counties, there is.
And a lot of that is, I mean, it does change the way that you go to the parks, because you will see people that are enforcing it. It is a very big thing. And that's a very unique change with COVID restrictions. It is the only time that I have seen, really, for example, cast members in particular, and good for these cast members. I wish them all of the best and happiness and good things, because some of them are out there and their entire job is to tell people to put their masks on. It's enforcing these policies, and people are not nice. If you've seen some of the videos that come out on the internets of people who are making commentation or yelling, or articles about people spitting on cast members, it is the hardest job right now. But they're out there doing it, and they're doing it for the safety of everyone who is coming to these parks, because they know that they want to make it a safe place for everyone. That it's a huge difference, and it is a huge change for Disney to actively have cast members be out there and saying, no, you can't do that. No is an unheard of thing for many cast members to say, and they are having to flex those no muscles and really flex that.
It's a hard stop. It is a non-negotiable. Mask is on, or I get security involved and you're gone.
Yeah, and that's a big change. That's a big operational change for a lot of these parks, particularly Disney, because they ain't pulling punches.
And Disney has always been the happy-go-lucky before. Like, if somebody's mad, they're going to try to rectify the situation. With this, when you sign up for your park pass, when you click the little button that says, I agree to all these terms, you agree to Disney's terms, which include wearing a mask and maintaining social distancing, period. So by not doing that, I mean, you're already patting 1,000 right there. We've seen it over at Universal. People actually being escorted out of the park. We've seen that happen multiple times. You've seen videos on YouTube and stuff of Disney actively enforcing and removing people from the park. They're not joking. But very well, they shouldn't be. The social distancing in the queues, though, I like that. I like that a lot.
So if there's anything to learn about me personally, I like my personal bubble. I love my space. I really appreciate others not infringing upon my space. It is something that I personally get very, very anxious about when I have people that are too close to me. And if I am enclosed in a space with too many people, Brett can vouch for this, I will freak out. It is not something, it's not good for me, and I'm aware of that. And usually I will address that myself. I will fully admit, being able to stay at least 6 feet away from whatever party is around me on either side, on all sides, makes me very happy.
It's been very enjoyable.
It's suddenly not a worry of like, especially when you're at places with theme parks, you're going to have kids. I've had kids like run up to me, like grab my butt or poke my stomach or like grab my hands, all of these things. And it's not done in a way that's like, they don't mean to, but it's just, they're kids and they're being told that they have free reign of wherever their space is. Now, with social distancing measures, as long as people are following the markers, I don't know why it is so hard for some people to understand stickers.
It's been a year. It's been a year everywhere. Like, I don't understand why people don't look down.
There's, every once in a while, you just get an issue where you have a couple parties that aren't, like, they don't get the concept of, there is a sticker on the floor for a reason that says, please stand here. But so many, like, every once in a while, you'll get a group of people that are like, no, I'm going to come up right behind you. And I've learned to be more assertive and being like, looking at them and being like, do you mind getting on your sticker? Because again, I've appreciated this expansion of my own personal bubble and I don't know you and I don't want you anywhere near me. That's, again, Kristen in a nutshell. No touchy.
But you don't, I mean, so once you get to the ride though, we've seen a lot of the issues with the plexiglass on the ride.
Oh gosh.
We're talking about those like small cavernous spaces. The plexiglass is it's bad.
So I think that for me, this is the number one concern with COVID changes. So, and that's ride modification. That is having to add things like plexiglass or plastic or dividers of any kind between what are generally considered very small spaces. To go along with me personally, not liking people that close to me. I don't like objects that close to me either. So that I've really personally had to restrict a lot of things.
Like safaris,
Frozen
Ever After, and Living with the Land.
Super hard. And a lot of it is having to do things like row requests. Like, can I be in the front so I don't have this kind of enclosed, like I'm not sitting here in a fish aquarium between things. And for a lot of people, it doesn't make a difference. I'll be 100% honest. I know tons of people that it doesn't impact their experience on these attractions. They still have a great time. That's just a very personal thing for me that I have a very hard time with. But, I mean, for you, do you think that it impacts the experience? So think of like Runaway Railway. Mm-hmm. You can be in the front of the car with nothing, or you can be in the second row of a car and you have obviously it's clear plexiglass. Does that really impact your experience?
I don't think specifically Runaway Railway impacts the experience at all. The same way that Rise of the Resistance on the ride vehicles doesn't impact the experience. The Rise of the Resistance pre-shows right now, where everything is all plexiglassed out, so you're all in these little aquariums inside the pre-show, I think that's weird, and that really impacts the experience there. Mm-hmm. But the actual ride, I don't see an issue with it. The only issue I've seen with the rides that have the plexiglass has honestly been on, well, for my own personal comfort, riding in the middle of Kilimanjaro safaris. You can't breathe. There's no airflow. It's so hot. Even on the cool days, it's still hot. But Frozen Ever After is the only real, I want to say, problem. And that's mainly because you get splashed on the attraction, and the water comes up and hits the plexiglass, and next thing you know, the plexiglass is wet and smeared with water, and there's stains on it, so that you don't have a clear view, even though it's see-through. It's like you're looking through your car window mid-car wash.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's not the best experience. You're still getting on the ride in a lot less time than you were previously, because they upped the capacity. They doubled the capacity since COVID, back to regular, so that's good.
That is the one thing that's been interesting. So a lot of these attractions reopened without these measures, and they've been slowly adding them in to really up the ride capacity. Mm-hmm. Because the ride, for example, Frozen Ever After, the ride capacity of Frozen Ever After to begin with is abysmal.
It's under 1,000 an hour. I think it's like 960.
The amount of people that ride can put through is very, very, very small compared to most other Disney attractions. Mm-hmm. So when you take that and then suddenly, instead of being able to fit 4 parties on that boat because you have 4 rows, they were fitting 2 parties on a boat.
Maybe.
Maybe. If they were 2 small parties, they would put one in the front and one in the back. And if not, if you were a bigger party where you needed 2 rows, suddenly you had a party, just a boat for your party. And that tanks the numbers for these rides. So it is definitely a learning that has happened, and it is a big change that will continue to change. I mean, they are still installing plexiglass. Runaway Railway literally just got it. Like,
something
not
else
that long ago.
just got it. Oh, over Fast and the Furious Supercharged over at Universal just got it.
Yeah.
And it's the same way they're doing over at Kilimanjaro Safaris. They're doing the curtains between the rows.
Yeah, it's like a clear shower curtain.
And they're doing the same thing over at Living with the Land and then Skull Island Reign of Kong, which is really unfortunate because, I mean, specifically Skull Island Reign of Kong and Supercharged, they're 3D attractions. You wear 3D glasses.
Yeah, and then you're trying to look through a plastic sheet in order to see the 3D effects. It's very, very rough. But honestly, it's something that I think they've felt they've had to do to maintain the capacity. And we've seen it. Like, we've literally commented on when we've pulled up the Universal app and you see that Fast and the Furious Supercharged has a longer wait than Hagrid's.
Yeah.
Has everything to do with the fact that they didn't have the ability to put the expected capacity on that ride. That is, again, a huge vehicle for people. It is, I don't know, like 12 rows of 6 people for every vehicle that they're setting up. That's probably not true. I've literally only done it once.
I think it's, somebody correct me. Drew, hit me in the mentions if you're listening. I think it's either 12 or 16 rows of 6.
It's
huge. It's
no
huge
idea. I just know it's giant. And when you're looking at not being able to seat all of those or having to seat like maybe every 3rd row, what that does to your capacity is bonkers. So I understand. I fully get why they do it.
Not my favorite change, but
I would caution people, if you know, like you yourself know, hey, you're claustrophobic or things like that, and you're coming to Orlando and you're doing a COVID trip, I would talk to an attendant before you get in line to see what recommendations they have for you. For example, like we talked to the Rise of Resistance cast member as we were entering in for our return time, or for our boarding group, to say, like, I have a challenge with this. Is there a way to address that? Is there not a way to address that? Because I'm not going to waste my time going through the queue if I'm going to get to the end and just be, unable to enjoy my experience. And they were very open. Like, they told me what to do. They told me, like, to ask for a specific color and things like that. So they were very aware of needing that accommodation. But yeah, if you're in that boat, just ask. They've heard it all. I promise. These cast members, they know what they're doing, or the team members, or the ambassadors, or legitimately any of them have been going through these growing pains as well. So that's I think one of the biggest changes. But there's been some positives.
Do you think the park entry change is positive? So right now, Disney is trying to avoid any rope drop procedure possible. So, for example, like Hollywood Studios say they're opening at 9 a.m., that parking lot's not going to open until 8:15, 8:20 a.m. Because they want it to be, it's easier for you to social distance in your car than it is to social distance in front of a theme park waiting to open.
Yes.
So then by the time you get in, you pay for parking or show your annual pass, and you get through and you get parked and you walk to the front.
The gates are open, so it's just a straight through. You're a straight through from getting your temperature checked to tapping in at a turnstile to getting where you need to go inside that park. It is a kind of continual process. Obviously, there's some slowdowns, but for the most part, you're constantly moving. And I would say that is a major win for social distancing and queues.
It's huge, but the biggest thing I'm seeing right now, especially out here just in the mornings, people are trying to get to these parks super early like they used to. And then they're being turned around.
Not turned around, just...
Yeah, no, they're being turned around.
I thought they just sat at like the toll plazas.
You can't sit there until a certain time.
Ah.
So, like, for example, if studios opens at 9, if you get there at like 7:45, you're being turned around.
Why would you get there at 7:45?
Well, because people think it's like the old days where you have to get there early to get on these things.
Oh, goodness.
And then the buses and the Skyliner and stuff don't start until about a half hour, 45 minutes before the park's even open, too. So that's happening.
Which is pretty normal.
Yeah, I mean, to a point. But even
we wanted to say it's not normal, but buses have always only supposed to been running 45 minutes before the park opens.
But then you're social distancing the buses, so you need to have more buses, and it's weird. The temperature check I'm okay with. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable once everybody has a temperature checked. If you're in the park, I don't mind for the entry procedure. And then Disney they have new bag check procedures too with the entire COVID experience. And this is I want to say that these are going to stick around, this new procedure.
Yes.
Super convenient, super great. They can put through a lot of people in a short amount of time.
I don't think it was a COVID change, though.
It was a COVID change because they didn't want to touch guest bags.
But I thought I thought that procedure was starting before COVID.
It was supposed to. They were doing testing in Paris. They had these hexagon-shaped X-ray machines that you put your bags through in Paris for the longest time. So then this is like the new technology, and oh my god, it works. It works so well.
Yeah, and it works so well that you have to go through every time. Because Brett, if you've ever seen, he carries a bag that has a great many buttons on it from our adventures, kind of around the country and some of that other stuff. So even though it's a camera bag, every time it goes off in the metal detectors, because they're like, someone actually said to you, wow, that's a lot of metal on the front of that.
Yeah, he's like, it's going to go off every time. And I'm like, yep, I know. I'm aware.
I'm aware.
They installed securities at Disney Springs as well, so that's also cool.
Mm-hmm. Which is, that's a huge change. It's a well-needed change.
They've never had security there before, and it's always been this...
It's a well-needed change.
Yeah, it's a well-needed change. I think I'm going to leave it at that.
That's what I was doing.
Yep.
Because we ain't not talking about any of those things. Cut, please.
I'm going to cut that off.
But yeah, so having all of those different security measures go into place and making it so it is... You're just going. You're not stopping. You're not doing anything. You're just seamlessly moving through is great. Like I said, that's one of the best things about socially distanced queues is even though they are way longer in the physical sense, like the distance covered by a line is startling.
I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you're familiar with Walt Disney World, so you know where Columbia Harbor House is, you know where Peter Pan's Flight is, you know where Haunted Mansion is. We joined a Peter Pan's Flight queue a few weeks ago, and it said 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it started in Harbor House. You started closer to Haunted Mansion than you...
No, it literally started outside of Harbor House.
Yeah.
Like we had to wait in line outside of Harbor House to go into Harbor House, to go through Harbor House, to go out the back, around the corner, down the alley, to finally get to what would normally be an extended queue for Peter Pan.
And it was only 20 minutes, not 25. And I was stunned.
It worked out. It was surprising. But that's the beautiful thing is you keep moving. And if you've ever gotten into any queue line in any way, shape, or form that just sits in one spot, it is soul draining.
To say the least.
So when you are having these things of, like, you're looking at it and your brain outwardly goes, oh my gosh, because you see how much distance is being covered, to be able to go into those and just not stop walking the whole time. Like, you're literally just going from sticker to sticker to sticker to sticker, and the waits are going by like mad.
I think a park day right now is more exhausting than a park day before because you have no time to stop. No time to stop and chill. You're just go.
I don't know if that's true.
I think it's definitely true.
Whatever makes you happy.
I'm just exhausted at this. Maybe because I'm 30 at this time. Getting old.
Oh.
One of the other big changes I really enjoy is forcing mobile order for the restaurants. So mobile order was there before COVID, and now all of a sudden it's everything for mobile order. So you don't need to like bypass people in line to do this. You just mobile order ahead of time for any food and go pick it up.
You say that, but I would actually say that's a negative.
You think?
I'm just thinking of walking through Hollywood Studios and going down the ABC commissary corridor. They have a massive indoor seating area for the ABC commissary. It is huge. But because they were doing mobile order, there were just people everywhere outside.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
There were people who were camped out that hadn't realized they had to do mobile order. So instead of mobile ordering somewhere else and then coming when it was ready, they were just filling the entire walkway. There was someone literally sitting in almost the middle of the walkway. And they were just everywhere.
People camp out front waiting for their order to be ready. And there's no social distancing circles or something that's standing outside. Everybody just crowds the front around the counter looking at their phones waiting for it to pop ready.
Yeah, so I would say that's not necessarily a positive thing. I do appreciate that mobile order is everywhere. Mm-hmm. I don't appreciate it that it's the only option.
I found out that that's not the truth. So,
well, like, it can't be the truth. Not everyone has a smartphone.
That's it. If of course, we didn't say this, and don't quote the Schmoofs on this, but if you were going to pay in cash, they will walk you up to a register and they will accept your cash at a register.
Well, obviously, they have to.
Yeah, you need to tell the customer at the front, I would like to pay in cash. They will escort you in.
I mean, if you carry cash, good for you.
Yeah.
People don't carry cash these days.
There's a lot of guests who come here with a stack of money, and that is their spending money.
It's piggy bank money.
Well, it's not piggy bank money. It's that they don't want to bring out a credit card or debit card.
But that's what I mean.
They know that they have their cash on them, and once it's gone, it's gone.
So, like, what I mean, you know what I mean, because I had one for us. But it's like those boxes that you have. It's like vacation fund, and like you put 5s or 10s or 20s in it. And that's what when you go on vacation, that's what you have to spend. That's what I mean by...
Oh, okay. I thought you were like piggy bank, like we're going to go smash a piggy bank and whatever change kids have, that's vacation money.
It's the fund money, like when you have one of those little boxes, or piggy banks, or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually, because a lot of people do that when they're planning for vacations, because it's a great way to save. Yeah. But there's so many... I just don't know...
I'm exhausted. Every time... So recently we've been to Disney and Universal quite a bit. And I'm 100% with you guys. I am exhausted when I go to Disney. Like, the entire pre-arrival and park experience is just... It's tiring. But Universal... I have been through the ceiling about Universal. I've been so happy. It's been great. Stress-free almost. And it feels like Universal has their... I don't know. It's definitely stressful.
I think that's just a you thing.
So here's my issue. I've been to nonstop Epcot for about 2 months.
We had a great time when we went to Epcot literally 2 days ago.
That was the first really enjoyable experience I've had at Epcot in a while.
That's not true.
I need to stop going to Epcot. That's my issue. I need to go back and we need to get a Magic Kingdom day in soon. We really do.
Talk about things that are exhausting to think about. Parking at the transportation and ticket center and having to take some form of transportation over to the front gate.
It's an hour time commitment before you even step into the park, and I'm just not about that life.
It's so much.
We can go to IHOP instead. Have just as good of a time.
It's just one of those, like, you have to be geared up for it. And the funny thing is, like, COVID hasn't really changed that.
It's just amplified
it's just
how much I don't want to do it.
How much you're like, oh gosh. When you're staying on site or anything like that and you get to take one of those buses and it takes you just up to the loop, that's great. Like, walk out from your hotel, catch a bus, get to the front of the park. Perfect. When you have to park your car and then make your way through the parking lot in order to get a bus to take you to the bus depot at the front of the park and then go through the process, it's suddenly like...
It's like, I don't even want to do this anymore.
But... I don't know if that's a COVID thing. I think that might just be an us being lazy thing.
Yeah.
We promise we really do know how lucky we are to do these things.
Yeah, I can complain all day long, and then I apologize because there's going to be somebody listening to this, and they're going to be in, like, New Jersey, where it's probably going to snow one more time before Easter, and they're probably thinking, like, these two spoiled brats down there complaining about going to Magic Kingdom.
I am sending positive thoughts to our friends Steven and Haley in Colorado. Who've got 8
They just got
feet.
hammered.
8 feet of snow. So no, we do. I promise, we do realize how lucky we are to be able to go to these places, especially during a global pandemic that is still going on. I don't know why it seems like Florida's decided that's not the case, but being able to do that, and as theme park aficionados,
Aficionados. You can just say nerd.
Yeah, well, true. As theme park nerds, it is a big thing. This is kind of industry changing. COVID has been industry changing.
Absolutely.
We have seen so many things. We've seen the adaptability of a lot of theme parks. We've seen changes in procedures, in technology, in all of these things that have come out and are still adapting. Park reservation systems are a huge thing. Doing virtual queuing, like, is that the step of the future? We'll talk about that in another episode.
Yeah, that's a bigger topic than we think.
Bigger topic. But seeing all of these things and the adaptability of theme parks really has made, like, as a theme park fan, it's good to see. Like, I was scared. I'll be 100% honest with you. This time last year, when we get word that these theme parks that are a 24/7 operation, 365, were closing. All of them. That was, as a theme park fan, terrifying. There's certain things, there's times that we were talking about it that we didn't think that they were ever going to open again.
Yeah.
We thought maybe that some of these parks were going to become, obviously not the big ones like Disney and Universal, but thinking about things like Fun Spot or
a bunch
Old
of
Town,
regional parks.
A bunch of regional parks that we were like, they're just never going to open again. And that's a terrifying thought as a theme park fan. And as a fan of the themed entertainment industry. We're looking at things like Medieval Times, which is a dinner show that happens, and all of these things. You're like, we're never going to get these back if they go away.
There's a lot of these areas out there too that are based on these touch and feel exhibits, especially for younger kids, like
the Orlando Science Center.
Yeah, like WonderWorks on iDrive and stuff. A lot of these places have adapted. They have taken out a lot of these, touch and go type exhibits, which is really cool. We went and we checked out Sea Life Aquarium over at Icon Park, Orlando. If you have a chance to visit it, it is well worth your time. It is a gorgeous aquarium. Probably about a 45-minute walkthrough experience.
It's great. It's a lot of fun. They have a crazy amount of creatures.
And they take well care of them, and it's cool. You walk right through the aquarium. There's a 360-degree glass tunnel you walk through right through the middle of the aquarium. It's phenomenal. But they removed all of their, touch and feel, and I'm going to say it, they're frowned upon. You can no longer do these things. Like, they have it all down pat as to what they want and what they don't want. Legoland. I visited Legoland. When we went the one time, it got rained out. But
got rained out. I
was there the first day, and they had a lot of their stuff because it is a children-oriented park. A lot of their things, their exhibits were just not operating or closed, or a sign of them don't touch.
Mm-hmm. Which is, it's just a big change, and a lot of places are adapting, and I'm not as scared now. I still have. I think I am more cautiously curious now of where these parks are going to go in the future, because I think what has become blatantly apparent with a lot of these things is the necessity of the fact that, I'm going to be blatant, humans are generally disgusting. And
you're right.
What kind of responsibility does a park have to take for the cleanliness of their areas? So I hope that there's a lot of things that happen with COVID that continue. One of the main things that I 100% am for, would love to see continue, want hardcore, is the cleaning of attractions.
You see, I don't care about the cleaning. I like how Universal's doing it. Universal is forcing hand sanitizer before every ride.
But that's what I mean. Like, that's the step they've taken for the cleaning of their attractions.
Yeah.
Knowing that when you get on that your hands in your area is clean. But even then, doing the Disney approach to it and having
They're spraying it down every 2 hours.
Spraying it down. That's, to me, like, just thinking about it and realizing that prior to this, that only happened once an evening, like after the park had closed. No, it happened. It happened every day. They have to spray them down. It's part of, like, I assume, the engineering bit that goes on for every attraction. I don't care. I'm going to hope that it happened at least once a day. Yo, that's gross.
Yeah. So I made a joke on Twitter last year and stuff, like, what would you rather lick? Like the fear flaps in a Halloween Horror Nights maze, which are, if you've ever been through a horror maze, they usually use flaps between rooms to separate the rooms to kind of like disorient your vision.
I hate them.
And they're disgusting. But even thinking about touching that nowadays, I'm like, oh, okay. Or like the back of a Haunted Mansion doom buggy.
Also gross.
Yeah, like you don't see it in the dark, but there is so much spit and just on the back of that. It is not good.
It's just in general, like, that is the one thing that I realized with, obviously, it's something that I knew before. I knew people were gross. And I say this as someone who has relatively poor immune system, so that I knew, like, if I was going someplace, like if I was going to a park for a day with other people during a peak season, I was going to get sick. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew I was going to get sick the next day, and it was something that,
knock on wood, we haven't gotten sick since the mask.
I will 100% state it. You can come at me all you want. I am doing it for my own personal thing. I will probably be wearing a mask to a theme park for a long time. I have had again, knock on wood, but have not had any major concerns when it comes to illness recently. That, yeah, no, I'm gonna be that one. Like, I'm gonna be one of those people that, for a long time, masks is gonna be a big part of my go-to. But I hope, realizing now how gross everyone is, I don't know how. I think prior to COVID, I just assumed everyone had menial levels of...
People are disgusting. I will tell you firsthand, men are disgusting. The amount of men I see walk out of restrooms at theme parks without washing their hands.
Oh, God, that's
gross. Absolutely disgusting.
I don't like it.
And it's still happening during COVID times, too. It still is. I'm just like, have we learned nothing?
I've gone through so many things of hand sanitizer and hand spray. And this is, like, I was the kind of person that before this carried 2 different kinds of hand sanitizer in my purse. Mm-hmm. Like, I have wet ones in my purse at all times because I am that person. But I so hope that all of these cleanliness things, not just in attractions, but, like, I love being able to go to a theme park and seeing park services or custodial people or anything like that wiping things down every single time we've been to Universal. Every time, regardless of the time of day we get there, we always see
someone's wiping the handrails down.
Someone is wiping the handrails down every single time. And it just makes me feel better. And I think it'll continue to make me feel better if they continue to do that after everything's back to normal, because it's a necessity, right? This is one of the ways that we can protect each other, and one of the ways that the park can really provide protection to their guests. Like, what kind of liability do they have to not do those things moving forward? That's a crazy thought for another day. But no, I do think that there's a lot of positive things that have happened in terms of cleanliness with COVID, in terms of feeling those changes. I think a lot of parks previously tried to hide a lot of their cleaning efforts or things like that because it's not something you necessarily want out in your face. But now, because it is a necessity, they have put it out there in your face, and I appreciate that.
It's nice, especially at Disney, because Disney is all about the show. And if they're showing you not only are they being clean, but how clean they're being, you know what's good. But, I mean, it's a different world now with COVID, so eventually Disneyland will reopen. We'll see how they adapt the Florida procedures to that much smaller park. They don't have the space to throw socially distanced queues through Disneyland.
They don't have the space, but that's why stay tuned for upcoming things where we talk about the benefits of virtual queuing versus standard queuing.
And Volcano Bay and how that worked out and all that fun stuff.
stay tuned. Because we do have more to come. We apologize for a bit of the delay in getting this one out to you. That was my fault.
It was both of our faults.
We've been busy, okay?
We've been caught up with some stuff. That's also discussion for a different time. Maybe.
But let us know if you've been to the parks in COVID. Let us know what you think. Or if you haven't and you have questions or concerns, we would be happy to share what we can, or share whatever perspective we happen to have on that. Just hit us up at any of our social medias at the Schmoofs, and we are on Twitter and the Instagrams and the YouTube.
YouTube, of course.
YouTube.
YouTube.com/c/the Schmoofs.
Or follow Brett for more snarky content on Twitter at Schmoofy.
Yeah. I think that about wraps up for the COVID discussion. I mean, we're never going to stop talking about COVID ever, but this is this discussion.
We'll probably have more thought out about this at a different time, but I think that this is a great start and kind of it really shares a lot of our perspectives that we've come to with it.
There's been some data that came out recently of wait times from last year at this time before shutdown to this year, so it's going to be fun to compare and contrast and see what's going on. But that about wraps it up for this episode. Thanks for listening, friends. Signing out for the night, this is going to be Brett.
And Kristen.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.